that you are not, the room is silent. Wengine mmekaa mahali kuna noise. So to hear me becomes a very big problem. So ensure that you are seated where there is no noise, there are no passing vehicles, no construction that is going on close to you. Make sure that you have a pen and a book, and also make sure that your internet is stable. If you have bought bundles, make sure that your bundles are genuine bundles, not those ones that are sold via what we call middlemen and so on and so forth. Make sure that you have got, and then the gadget that you're using, make sure that you're using good gadgets. It's a laptop that can sustain the power for maybe for 6 hours or maybe for 4 hours. Acha kutumia ile laptop ambayo stima ikienda inaenda na hiyo laptop. That one is not a laptop. You should change your battery or buy a new laptop. My name is David Maina. I'll be taking you through this particular course. Today is our first lesson. And one thing that we can do is that make sure that anytime you join my class, you make my time easy. You can imagine a class whereby all the microphones are switched on. And my work is to tell you, switch on. Again, switch off your microphone. Okay. Mutunga, switch off your microphone. I will waste a lot of time telling you to switch off your microphone. So make sure that you are seated where it's conducive for your learning. Conducive for your learning. Again, in this course, everything will be done online, purely online. The class, the assignment, the activities. We will be having what we call discussion activities. We are also going to have quizzes. Those ones will be done online. And they will be done within the time frame that you have been given. For example, this class was supposed to start at 2. So by 5, you must have finished all the activities, because I'm only going to take 40 minutes, at most 1 hour. So the rest of the time you'll be doing the activities that I will give it to you. Even the attendance register, it will be done online. At the end of every class, I'll be giving what we call a code for you that will enable you to tick your register as present. That code is the one that you'll be using. You cannot tick your register as you speak right now because it will ask you for a code. So that code will be given at the end of the lesson. At the end of this particular lesson, that is up to 5, you must have marked your register. So don't come telling me to mark your register for you or to mark the register for you. That one I won't do. That one I will not do. So that is it. That is it. As we speak right now, I want somebody, a volunteer, to form a group, a WhatsApp group, and you make me an admin. Then you share the link there. A volunteer. Na huyo volunteer tafadhali afanye namna gani? Ajiestablish hapo, aseme ni nini, so that we don't have like 10 volunteers creating like 10 groups. So can we have someone who is going to create a group? When you create a group, you add me there. My phone number is on the portal. If you open the portal, I think the first thing is introduction. So Mutunga amesema I will add. So Mutunga, can you create a WhatsApp group, and then you do what? You invite me in that particular WhatsApp group, and then after that, what are we going to do? You're going to send the link to others, and the others are going to join that particular WhatsApp group. Now, that WhatsApp group is specifically for communication. In case there is anything that I want to talk about or to let you know, I'll be using that. I'll be using the WhatsApp group. So that is it. So unless there is a question, I want to proceed with my class. Unless there is a question, I want to start my class. Remember, we are 2 weeks behind. We are 2 weeks behind, and we need to catch up. So therefore, I'm going to share my screen so that we can go hand in hand, or we can go together, or we can flow together. That is my screen. I hope it can be seen. Let me zoom my notes. So I hope everybody can see that screen. I'll ask a few of you to explain, to tell me or to respond. Ogendi Naomi, can you see my screen? Naomi Ogendi, can you see my screen? Akech Miki, can you see my screen? Or I'm talking to myself.
Yes, I can see it.
Yes. Van Yomondi, can you see my screen? Vani Omondi.
Yes, I can.
Thank you,
Yes,
Van.
I can.
Thank you. Now let us start our class. When you switch off your microphone, let us start our class. And we are going to start with introduction to communication skills. That with microphone is on. Can you switch it off? Or you will be the first one to face the wrath of being chased out of this class.
Oh.
Huyo mwenye ametuwekea microphone on, switch it off. Now, let us look at introduction to communication skills. And when you talk about communication skills, we are saying that communication is part of our daily life, just like breathing. Communication is part of our daily life, just like breathing. Like, for example, you cannot say, today I'm not going to breathe. I am very angry with our communication skills teacher, or I'm very angry with my friend. So today I will not breathe. If you decide to stay like that for 1 hour, you will be normal. Leave alone 1 hour, 30 minutes, you will be normal. So in other words, you cannot say that today I'm not going to communicate. Even by not communicating, you are still communicating. By not even communicating, you are still communicating. Maybe you are still communicating through the way you are dressed. Your face can tell us the things that you are going through. By sleeping a lot of, by saying today I'm not going to get out, I will sleep the whole day. Ama nitajifungia kwa nyumba the whole day. You are still communicating to us. You are telling us either you are sick, you are telling us either you are very lazy, or you are telling us that you are very tired and you don't want anything to do with anyone. So in other words, they are saying that communication is part of our daily life, just like breathing. Just like you cannot say, I won't breathe for a whole week. The same case will happen. You cannot say that I will not communicate, because by not communicating, you are still communicating. So we use communication, number one, to express ourselves. We use communication to express ourselves and interact with others in our lives. Like, for example, you might want to express how angry you are towards maybe your friend. You'd want to tell us how happy you are to join Jesus University, or how sad you are that you lost maybe a friend of yours or a relative. So we use communication to express ourselves and to interact with others in our lives. Like right now, I've already met semester one, certificate year one, semester one, certificate in journalism and media studies. Already you have started interacting. Already you have started exchanging numbers. Already you have started sharing notes with one another. So that tells you that we use communication to express ourselves and to interact with others in our lives. So people, again, they use communication to fulfill a variety of needs. For example, we can communicate, or we can use communication for persuasion. To persuade is to lure someone, is to convince someone to do what? To follow a certain route. Like right now, we are in a period of campaign. You can see the politicians, the MPs, the senators, the governors, the presidential candidates. They are persuading you to vote for them. They are trying to tell you that we are the best compared to others. So sometimes we use communication for persuasion. And sometimes we use communication to influence relationships or even to create relationships. Maybe you're looking for a girlfriend or a boyfriend. You cannot just get one without communicating. You need to express yourself and communicate to them. So sometimes we use communication to influence relationships. We use communication to inform. Maybe, for example, I have some communication that I want to make. That maybe, for example, this is an example. Maybe next week we are not going to have a class. So I'll use the WhatsApp group to communicate, to inform you what I expect you to do or what I expect you to do or to behave. We also use communication to discover and uncover information. For example, whenever something has happened in our community, for example, it's a crime or something that is not good and the police are involved, you come to realize that the police will come here or will come to that particular place to interrogate others, those who witnessed or those who had something concerning maybe a crime that was committed. Why are they there interrogating you? Because they are trying to discover and uncover information. So no matter your occupation, no matter what you do, people spend a great amount of time communicating. Even when you're in class, seated down, the way you speak, it communicates to us. The way you respond to your lecturer when he asks you for a question, when he asks you a question, it communicates a lot to us. Whenever you attend a class and you attend late and the lecturer tells you stay outside, you are late, and you bang the door as you walk out, it communicates something negative to us. So we spend a lot of time communicating. So it is therefore for you to possess excellent communication skills, regardless of whether you are an engineer, regardless of whether you are an accountant, regardless of whether you are a journalist, you must possess good communication skills, or we can call them excellent communication skills, because you will communicate. An engineer would want to communicate to, to his employer. An engineer would want to communicate maybe to the public how a certain building will be built. An engineer or an accountant would want even to communicate to a student how much fee he has paid and how much fee is remaining as a balance. So, as a journalist also, you would want to communicate to people about the current issues that are affecting maybe the country. So, in other words, they're saying, regardless of your profession, you need to know how to communicate. So, because communication skills is essential in ensuring a professional as well as organization, or is to ensure that organization as well, professional as well as organization can achieve their goals. So this, uh, that is it. So that is my introduction, and we are saying that communication is, in short, we can summarize this by saying communication is very important. It's very important, regardless you are a child, regardless you are what, you are a grown up, regardless you are a youth, regardless you are a politician, whether you are a journalist, an accountant, an engineer, just know that communication is very important. Then we ask ourselves, what is communication then? What is this thing we call it communication? I'm just going to define communication in a very short word, or in a very short sentence. Communication is a process of creating a common understanding between the sender and the receiver. It's a process of creating a common understanding between a sender and a receiver. Who is a receiver? A receiver is a person who receives the information or communication from a source. Who is a source? A source is a sender. Like, for example, I am the sender. I am talking to you. At one point or the other, you will respond to me. Therefore, you become the sender, I become the receiver. At one point, I will become the sender and you will become the receiver. So therefore, we are saying that communication is a continuous process. So if one asks you in an exam to define communication, then I think this is the best thing that you can tell him. Communication is a process of creating a common understanding between a receiver and a sender, or between a sender and a receiver. Period. Achia hapo. When you talk about common understanding, is that the way I understand something should be the way you understand. Like, for example, if I say that next week we are going to have a cat, it should be understood just like that. If the customer, if my students react negatively, then it means that I did not communicate. So the way I understand something should be the way you understand it as a receiver. And you should actually react according to the instructions that I give. Reaction in communication skills, we call it feedback. So reaction is reaction is the what? So when a receiver, no, when a receiver receives a message from a sender, he reacts. For example, when you receive a message from a friend, there is a way you react. You can react by keeping quiet. You can react by sending back the response, or you can react by jumping up, or maybe by doing what? By shouting, or by crying, or by smiling. That is called reaction, and that is feedback. Feedback comes from the reaction of the sender's message towards the receiver. I hope that one is well understood. Any question up to that point? Any question? No question.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes,
Excuse me. Are you hearing?
we can hear you.
I've not understood that thing of what is communication. Can you repeat again?
We have said that communication is a process of creating a common understanding between the sender and the receiver.
Uh-huh.
For example, if
The sender, uh-huh.
I am talking, you are talking. I think that is the reason why you did not understand it the first time. Because you are engaging in
I'm sorry.
Tulisema unapoamua kusoma unatoka mahali ambapo unaenda mahali ambapo hakuna kelele na hakuna interruption. Because if you are to do that, if all of us
I'm sorry for that.
it will become so difficult for us to understand. So we are saying it's a process of creating a common understanding between the sender and the receiver. Like, for example,
Uh-huh.
if I tell you to do something and you fail to do it, we can say that I did not communicate. Maybe I tell you tomorrow we have a class at 8 a.m. and you don't appear in that particular class. It simply means I did not communicate. Or if I say tomorrow at 8 a.m. we have a class, and then you do what? You ask me at 8 p.m. today. You said that we have a class at 8 p.m. Then it means that there was no common understanding. So the reaction that I intended is that we meet tomorrow at 8 a.m. So if you react negatively, it simply means that I did not communicate. So that is the point. So then we go to that one leads us to what we call the elements of communication. And when we talk about elements of communication, we have several. We have several. We are going to look at 6 elements. 6 elements of communication. 6 elements of communication. Number one, we have the sender. Who is a sender? The sender is a person who has an idea, who has some information, who has some communication to make. A sender is also known as the source. The sender is also known as the source because he's the one who has the information. He's the one who has an idea. He's the one who has something that he wants to communicate to someone. A sender can be an organization. A sender can be an individual, and a sender can be anything that has got the information to convey. And you want someone else to understand your message. Then, apart from the sender, we have another element of communication known as the receiver. The receiver is a person who gets the information. So the sender has some information that he sends to a receiver, to an intended audience. So the intended person, so the sender or the receiver is the person to whom the message is intended. The receiver is a person to who, the receiver is a person to whom the message is intended by the sender. Kwa mfano, hii darasa yetu, hii ambayo iko hapa kwa Zoom. Hii darasa yetu imejaa receivers na senders. Like for example, I am the sender. To some point, you will be the sender. Like that lady was asked a question. I gave him some opportunity to be the sender, and at a point, I was the receiver. At a point, he was the sender. So the sender is the person to whom the message or communication is intended. A sender can be a company. For example, when you receive a letter from a company that you have been shortlisted for an interview, then the sender is a company. The sender can be you. You can write an application letter seeking for a job in a certain company. Then you are the sender. The receiver becomes the organization. If the organization reacts to your message, then it becomes the sender, you become the receiver. So in other words, you're saying that communication is a what? Is an all-round thing. Is an all-round thing. Then apart from the sender and the receiver, remember those are 2 elements of communication. We have what we call the message. The message is the information or the communication that the sender has towards the receiver. That person whose microphone is on. Tulisema kama microphone yako iko on, mimi nitakurusha nje. Kihambiru Snyder, your microphone is on. Tumesema ya kwamba ukipiga kelele, mimi nitakurusha nje. Na the next time you'll be joining my class will be next week, a day like today. And you will keep on complaining. Na wewe umetuwekea microphone, tunasikia DJ Demakufu huko kwa background, tunasikia watoto wanalia, wengine wanasema hawajakula lunch, wawekewe lunch, nasikia wanyama wanapiga kelele nyuma yako. We are just going to do away with you, and the next time you'll be joining our class will be next week. So we are talking about elements of communication. We have looked at the sender, we have looked at the receiver. Next, we are looking at the message, and we have said that this is communication or information that is intended to the who? To the receiver. This message can be verbal, this message can be non-verbal, and this message can be what? And it can include things like cry, mourning, laughter, grunting, and so on and so forth. So we are told that a sender can send 3 types of messages. That is the verbal message, the non-verbal message, huh? And so on and so forth. So therefore, we go to the next. The next is the channel. The channel is the path through which a message passes. For example, if you want to communicate, there is always a channel that you will use. You can decide to use a magazine. You can decide to use what we call a radio. You can decide to use a letter. You can decide to use a mobile phone. You can decide to use television. You can decide to use social media, and so on and so forth. All those are channels. Channel is a path through which a message passes. And the primary channels are sounds and sights. Then from there, we have noise. Noise. Noise is another element of communication. And noise is anything that interferes with communication. Noise is anything that interferes with communication. Noise can be classified as semantic noise. Semantic noise ni shida ya matamshi. Some people, when they pronounce some words, those words mean something totally different. Like, for example, let's go to the Kamba village or the Kamba community. When you want to say God is good, some of you will say God is good. God is good. So when you say God, what is that? People might end up writing God, and you mean God. Sometimes we have the Kikuyu community with problem with R and L, pronunciation. So when you talk about semantics is it comes from pronunciation. Anything that interferes with communication is known as noise. And noise can be semantic. Noise can be physical noise. Like, for example, you are seated where cows are mooing, dogs are barking, hens are doing what? Quacking, and so on and so forth. Now, that is noise. We can also have what we call psychological noise. Psychological ni ile noise ambayo inakuanga kwa kichwa ya mtu. That we are speaking, we are in class, but we are thinking about other things. We are in class, you are thinking about your first date with your first lover, or a date with your friend that you met on Facebook. You see, you are not concentrating. That one becomes noise. Noise can also be internal, that is in the mind of some people, and so on and so forth. Then, lastly, we have what we call feedback. Feedback, we said that it is a reaction. It's a reaction of the receiver towards the sender's message. So feedback is a reaction of the receiver towards the sender's message. And this reaction can be, for example, when you tell someone when you tell or when you give information to someone, this person can shout, this person can scream, this person can do what we call can jump up, or crawl. So it depends with the kind of message that you have been given. For example, those people who like betting, maybe you did what we call multi-bet. You did a multi-bet, and then the following morning you are told you are our winner. You have won 126 million. What will be your reaction? You will jump up and down. You will actually jump up and you will scream. What if you receive a message that you have failed an exam? What will be your reaction? Maybe you are with your friend. You are chatting. You are chatting and maybe you are having good time, and then you receive a message you have failed your exam. Number one thing is that you will stop chatting and you will start now having what? You're actually going to exclude yourself completely from your friends. Then next we have a setting. Setting is an environment. Setting is an environment. For example, when you say some word in a particular setting, it might mean something different. It might mean something very different. For example, when you say in Kiswahili shoga, huyu ni shoga yangu ama huyu ni shoga wangu kwa darasa, mko kwa darasa tuseme, itamaanisha ya kwamba huyo ni rafiki tu. Lakini mkiwa mahali, kwa mfano mnapita kwa mabaa ama kwa mabrothels ama kwa Koinange street, and then you say this, huyu ni shoga yangu, it might also mean something totally different. It's just like the word hustler. Hustler has got very negative word synonym. It means a swindler, it means a travel girl, it means so many bad words or so many bad things. But when it is used in a different context, it means a person who works very hard to earn a living. So that is it. So when you use words in a certain context or in a certain setting, it might have a different meaning. So up to that point, is there any question? Up to that point, is there any question? So therefore, let's look at features of communication. Number one feature of communication is irreversible. Once you communicate, you cannot reverse. Acha tutafute mwanafunzi hapa. So one, Ogendi Naomi calls, say for example, Nyambane Deborah, you are the biggest fool that ever lived. I'm just giving an example. Ogendi Naomi akaamua kuambia Nyambane Deborah, you are the biggest fool or the biggest goat that ever lived. This is just an example. Ogendi Naomi, you cannot reverse what you say. And Nyambane Deborah might hate you for the rest of her lifetime because of what you called her. She might not even forgive you for the rest of her lifetime. So communication, in other words, we are saying, is irreversible. Communication is irreversible. You cannot reverse what you say. You cannot take back something that you have communicated. That's why you are told you must be very careful when you communicate. Communication is also strategic. And the reason as why we are saying that communication is strategic is because we communicate when we have a purpose. For example, I have a purpose with Ogendi. So I call Ogendi and I tell her this is what I want you to do for me. Or maybe I want to persuade you to do what? To join maybe media club. You see, my purpose is to persuade you. Like right now, my purpose is to educate you on matters of communication skills. You see, communication is strategic. Number 3, communication is aphasia. That although communication can be smooth, communication can also sometimes be very smooth, but at times it can be bumpy. So communication cannot cure everything. It cannot cure everything. So it is very wrong to expect communication to solve all the problems. Sometimes sometimes it is not everything that is solved through communication. Sio kila kitu inakuwa solved through communication. Like for example, fees problem. Can you solve your problem, or can you pay your fee balance through communication? No, you have to pay. Go to the bank, deposit some money. So it's not everything that can be solved through communication. Sio kila kitu. Another thing is that communication is a process and should be considered as an art. Remember when I was talking about defining communication, I said it is a process of creating a common understanding. And it's a process that happens very fast and it involves a very long process. It involves a very long process. So you are going to read on communication models, that one sitaishika. But you can see the process of communication where we have the sender, encode, the channel, the message, and the receiver. Now that is a process of communication. We also have another process of communication where we have the source there. The source is, we said the source is the sender, or the source is a person, or an organization, or an institution that has got some communication that it wants to transmit. Then when it transmits, the transmitter is the channel, the channel of communication. Then we have the noise. The noise, we have said that it is anything that hinders communication. It can be even very strong perfume. Maybe you're in a class, you are seated to a person who has perfumed himself with a very strong perfume. To an extent, you are sneezing all along since the lesson started. That is noise. Or maybe you are seated to a person who keeps on pinching you, anakupinch nyuma, or talking to you every now and then. Whenever a lecturer makes a comment, he's telling you, listen to that, or something of the sort. Even your phone can be annoying. You are in class, your phone keeps on ringing. You keep on receiving messages. Where are you? And so on and so forth. So noise can be anything that interferes with communication. Then we have the receiver, and then we have the message, and then we have the destination. The destination is where the message is intended, and then we can call it a day. Now that is the process of communication. We also have another process of communication by Shannon and Weaver. That one you can only go and Google about it. So that is it. So apart from that, we also have types of communication. We have types of communication. And when you talk about types of communication, we have intrapersonal communication. Intrapersonal communication is when you talk to yourself. Like we are all human beings. At one point or the other, umewahi kusikia mtu anasema call yourself a meeting. Kwa Kiswahili tunasema jiite kamkutano. Jiite kamkutano. Hiyo kujiita kamkutano ndio we refer to as intrapersonal communication. Intrapersonal. It's communication that happens within yourself. Maybe you have failed an exam, and maybe you are asking yourself, how will I tell my parents? How will I tell them that I did not fail? How am I going to put it? You start having a conversation within yourself. You talk to yourself. You're not talking to yourself loudly, because if you talk to yourself loudly, people will consider you mad. People will consider you insane. People will consider you having unsound mind. So therefore, sometimes you even find people talking to themselves. They are not producing any sound, but you see them throwing hands as they walk. You see them counting their fingers, like something of the sort. So when you talk about types of communication or levels of communication, we have intra-communication. This is communication that happens within yourself. Then we also have interpersonal communication. Interpersonal is communication between you and another person, or between you and what I'm doing right now. I'm having interpersonal communication with my students. And then we have small group communication. This, like, whenever you're given a group work to do with your lecturers, that is small group communication. Or whenever you form a group of 3 to 4 people and you're discussing about maybe politics or about football or about maybe a certain movie or about maybe an assignment that you are given, that is called small group communication. And this group must be very small enough so that each member of the group has a chance to interact. And lastly, we can talk about public communication. Public communication is like what our politicians are doing. They are having public communication every now and then. You will hear this political leader is in Kitui, another one is in Kisumu, another one is in Mount Kenya region, trying to sell their what? Their manifestos, trying to lure or to do what? To 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 persuade people or to convince people to vote for them. That is called public communication. So in public communication, the sender sends message to an audience. So I will stop there unless there is a question. So that is the end of today's lesson. About the importance of communication, there are only 3. Number 1 is to understand how communication takes place. To understand how communication takes place, you communicate with others. Number 2, feel comfortable in social situations. And number 3 is to gain speaking and listening experiences that will be useful now and in the future. So that marks the end of today's lesson, unless there is a question. Unless there is a question, that marks the end of today's lesson. I told you I would be taking only 40 minutes or at most 1 hour. The rest of the time is for you to do the activities that you've been given. Any question? Has the WhatsApp group been created? WhatsApp group imekuwa
Excuse
created?
me, teacher.
Yes.
Excuse me, teacher, I have a question.
Yes.
It's not even a question. You had called the register a while back, and some people had not yet downloaded this Zoom. Can you call the register again?
I called the register.
Yes, you called the names of people.
No, that is not register. I have them here. It's not the register. The attendance, I will give you the password to do what? I'll give you a password that will help do what? Pick your register. I think that will be the last thing that I will do. So number 1, there is a discussion. Allow me to tell you the activities that are waiting for you. And then from there we can continue. Kuna activities ambazo zinakungoja. Na hizi activities zitakuwa kwa every lesson that we'll be having. Every topic, you are going to have activities. Let no one do what? Lie to you that today there is no activity. In every lesson, there will always be activity. Number 1, I have unleashed today's notes. Today's notes, you can download them as we speak. You can download them as we speak right now. Next thing is that I have unleashed the forum, the discussion forum. The discussion forum there is ready for discussion. So what you do is that you read the question and you discuss that particular question. And then lastly, there is a quiz there, which is called quiz 1. So you go to that quiz and you do the quiz. Any question on forum and quizzes?
Excuse me, sir.
Kindly repeat what you have said.
Yes, repeat.
Kwani mumekaa wapi? Hamsikii. Where are you seated that you cannot hear? I've said
We are
that.
getting you, but not clearly.
I'm saying this, that there is, today I have unleashed the notes for topic 1. So you can download those notes for topic 1. Then there is a discussion forum that is there. So you can go and do a discussion forum. And lastly, there is quiz 1 for you. This discussion forum and this quiz must be done between now and 5. 5 ikifika zinajifunga zote. Saa 11 ikifika inajifunga zote, because this is part of the class. That's why this class is 3 hours. 40 minutes for me, 50 minutes for you to do the forum, another minute for you to do the quiz, and another one to do the library skill, or to go to the library. Any question before I give the password for the attendance? Before I give the password for the attendance.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
I've not understood the features of communication. Please, will you remind repeating it?
What?
The features of communication.
They are in the note. Tajisomea kwa sababu kwa note, and I'm also looking at time. Time is gone and you are remaining with only 1 hour and some few minutes to do the activity. So those features are on the note. You will read them. I'm looking at time.
Okay.
So that everybody can do what? Everybody can do all those activities. Number 1, not number 1, but this is it. Whatever I have shared there, already have shared, is the password for your attendance. So if you click your attendance register, it will ask you for a password, or it will ask you for a code. That code, you put it, and then you pick yourself as present. Tumeelewana?
Code again.
Iko wapi?
Kindly, those who are sharing numbers, wachana na hizo numbers. Zachary, akina Zachary, akina Cedric. Stop sharing numbers, because you are overriding the most important.
Excuse me, sir.
I have said the code, it is there. It is start with OPN. So the code starts with OPN 7WZ. It is there. OPN. These ones, they are small letters. OPN 7WZ. That is your password for today's attendance. So you just go there, you click, it asks you for the password, you give it, and then you put yourself present. You have between now and 5. Failure to which, if I go back there, I will keep you absent. Is there any question on attendance? Let me see the people who have marked the register already, so that I know whether you are doing the right thing. Yeah, I can see that some people have already marked their register. Allow me to mention their name. I can see who. I can see Atieno Omondi, you have already marked the register. I can register. I can see also, I can see Otieno Richard. I can see Shahi Naisea, Triza Wamboi, and so on and so forth. Those are the people. I can see that you have understood how to take the register. Eh? So kindly go and take the register using that particular code. The person who was preparing for us the WhatsApp group. Is that WhatsApp group ready? And if it is ready, can you share the link? Can you share the link? That is the easiest way. Wacha watu wanakutumia manamba hapa. Share the link of the WhatsApp group so that people can just click the link and join the WhatsApp group. Have you shared? Can you share that link? Who was doing the,
I'm almost.
yeah, share that link before people start going. Wakianza kutoka hapa itakuwa vibaya sana. We are waiting for that link, me included. As we wait for the link, kindly do what? Kindly be ticking your register. As you wait for the link, be ticking your register. Usitoke kama hujaingia kwa WhatsApp group. Hawa watu nakutumia manamba hapa, itakuwa very easy wakiclick hiyo link na waingie. Also, yeah, that is okay. Share the link kindly. We are waiting for the link. Again, something that you should notice is that this class is being recorded. If at all you need to maybe revise, I will be sharing. The link will be there. The link for this recording. So you will click on the recording and then it will take you to YouTube. Then from there, you'll be able to see the class that we had. And this one is done specifically for those people who are not, those who might not have been able to join our class. The link has been shared. You just click on that link. Link imekuwa shared, na ameshare mara mingi. So you just
Excuse
click on
me,
that
sir.
and join the class. Well, Accord, shida ni gani?
Will you mind repeating the procedure of signing the register?
You go to the attendance, click on the attendance. After clicking on the attendance, it will ask you for password or code. Then you feed it the code that I gave, and then you tick your register present, and you call it an evening. You can go to Banjuka after that.
Okay,
Where
thank you.
Accord, I want you to
I've
be,
heard you.
no, listen to me, where I'm not done. I want you to do this.
Yes.
Mwenye ameform group ya WhatsApp, akuweke ukuwe admin pia. Tumeelewana
Mimi
wewe
nikuwa
Accord?
admin.
Yes. I know the reason why. Tumeelewana Accord?
Excuse
Mutunga Munyao, what are you saying?
pardon your number. I had you.
Which number?
Your number, your phone number.
My phone number is on the portal. Enda kwa portal, vile uliingia kwa hii portal ndio uingia kwa class. Hapo juu kabisa kuna instruction, then utaona namba yangu hapo
Excuse
uyani.
me, teacher. Excuse me, teacher.
Yeah, what are you saying?
The class, the class attendance, niandike in capital ama small letters.
All those are
Your
small.
code.
They are small letters,
All of them
apart
are
from
small.
numbers.
Some.
Excuse me. Excuse me.
Wewe ni nani? Are
Copy
you a
and
police
paste.
officer?
Yes.
When you join my class, kindly join with your full name, not your phone name. Ingia katika Azimio hapa.
My attendance is not asking me for password.
Idea. How are we going to help you? You know it is your attendance.